There you go. Okay, Lynn, pray us in. Let's take a deep breath in. Ah.
Sweet and loving Spirit, as we get together today with Judy Matejczyk, Master Paradigm Shifter Extraordinaire, let us know that creativity is a superpower. So as we invite Christi Corrado to teach us about our superpowers, just listen and know that everyone is creative. So as you hear Christi talk about creativity, know that is you also. And just lean into the concepts she talks about so that you can make creativity your own superpower and shift those paradigms in the process. And so it is. Amen.
So it is. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. Okay, I'm gonna press this, go live. Okay. All right, we are live. At least it says is it there. So, yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. Greetings, 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 everyone. Let me make sure that I'm on here. I think we're good. We're good. Yep, we are Facebook Live. Oh, it looks like, there you go. One more time. All right. So here we go. So Judy Matejczyk here, world-class paradigm shifter, and we are shifting paradigms. Welcome to our Tuesday Paradigm Shifters. And I just want to take a minute here to welcome everybody who's new here. And, you know, hang on a second, make sure I have this techie thing going. Stop. It looks like we're going. And as you come in, tell us where you're coming in from, where you're zooming in from, where you're Facebook Living in from. We're so excited. We have 113. You believe that? What do you think, Christi?
Yeah, you're rocking it, girl. You're rocking it.
113 shifters. 113 paradigm shifters. There's 8 countries all over the United States and all corners of the states. We've got in here moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, veterans, nurses, hospice workers, teachers, administrators, principals, students. We've got millennials in here. And even a Gen Z, right? We got seniors, and there's something that was in you that called you to join us in this moment in time in 2020. Just take a deep breath into that. Something inside.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Yes. And in this 2020, the year of our paradigm shifting. So, yes, it's Tuesday. All right, you guys, get your pencil and paper, or pen and paper. You want to take notes here. And it is my pleasure, my extreme pleasure, to introduce to you one of my best buddies in the world, and who's come to be our guest Tuesday presenter. And also, one thing I want you to know is about Christi Corrado. You're gonna love this, Christi. You ready?
Uh-oh.
When I first met Christi, I'm like, oh my God, there's someone with purple hair. Must be California. And I was so drawn, and it was, I wonder if I could do that. You know, and one thing I know about Christi is she's like the most creative person that I know in the world. And I so aspire to be like her. So also, one of the things that we have in this group right here, right now, are my personal partners in believing. Christi and I were given the pleasure of being awarded Dream Builder Achievement Award in 2014. Wasn't that a moment, Christi?
Yes. Yeah, that was amazing.
And we became partners in believing right after that, 6 years. And Lynn and you and I have been meeting every Monday morning, 6 years. It's so important to me. Yeah. So let me tell everybody else a little bit about you. Working in the area of personal empowerment for 3 decades. Do you believe it?
It's probably 4 now.
So Christi Corrado's experience has culminated in her career as a transformational life coach and art therapist. Got that, you guys? She's certified through Life Mastery Institute and works for more than 6 years, I know, with Mary Morrissey and premier leaders in the human potential movement. Okay, so Christi provides guidance for people longing for their best life through her program, Mastering the Art of Life. She's raised her son in these principles, and he's now 22. 22, yes. And I really love this part about what you do. You've run empowerment programs for teams with this same work. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over for Christi. I invited her to come and talk to us about your unique perspective, a little bit about, your story, why this work is so important, and what makes it so unique. And then if you could, please give us a couple tools that we could use for our shifts.
Absolutely.
It's all yours.
Thank you, Judy. Yes, we have some wonderful history, and our lovely Lynn is also on here wearing her superpower cape. We have been doing this work together longer than 6 years, but as partners in believing for that amount of time. And it has been a lifesaver for me. So one of the tools, I'll just say right off the bat, is make sure you have your partners in believing, and that you can rely on them and be with them, and they can see you through the darkest dark and the brightest bright, and navigating everything in between. So thank you, both of you, for being my partners in believing. So, yeah, I actually started my youth work before I was a mom. As a teenager myself, art was really healing for me, and sometimes in my darkest moments and so forth, I relied on creativity and art to help me through. But one of the things that I discovered as I navigated this, I ran several youth programs, as Judy said, before my son came along. So, and one of the things that I learned in there is, well, actually that I was doing that I learned actually had a term to it, was creative thinking. And what creative thinking was, you can look it up on the internet, and it's now a business term for thinking thoughts you've never thought before. So think about that. How many of us really think thoughts that we've never thought before? Well, we've had an opportunity here during the pandemic, these unusual times, to start thinking differently, but most of us are still relying on that 90-something% of habitual thoughts that we have had. And so one of the things that I really encourage my clients to do, and you to do today, is to start thinking thoughts that you've never thought before. Now that's one component of what I do. And the second component is to teach universal principles. Like, these are the immutable laws that never change, never have changed, still are operating in the same way. And they're operating today just like they did before the pandemic. And I want you to think about that. Somebody said, how can you know how to navigate the pandemic when none of us have done this before? Well, I'll tell you, there is one universal principle at work right now, and it's the same one that was there before. And all I need to do is explore those, learn those, internalize those, and operate from that. Now match that with thinking thoughts you've never thought before, and you are going to shift those paradigms, because how can all of your paradigms are really from you rethinking thoughts over and over again. Anytime you are stuck, you can go, oh, I'm just not in alignment with my true nature. Because each one of us, no matter if we're in a pandemic or where we are still navigating, we are still in that divinity, and we are still divine, and we are the nature of life expressing the divine. And if you think about having that kind of a job, whatever you call it, you can call it God, you can call it universal principle, you can call it the quantum field, whatever it is, that power in the world that is propelling us forward, it is for us to choose to move forward with that greater becoming of ourselves. And when we're stuck, we know we're stopping the flow of our true nature. And I think of it like trying to stand in the middle of a river that's roaring down, and the river is going in the flow, and you are trying to stop it. And what a tough job.
Yeah. So what was it like? I know in particular, there's people in here who are, they're just overwhelmed. And there was a time when you were in your overwhelm that you had to come up with something to get you back on track.
Well, let's see. I have a lot of times that I was overwhelmed, so it's just part of our nature. One of the tools I'd like to share here is when I learned to breathe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what happens when we get activated, and especially in this time, because we're kind of feeling in a survival mode, is that the amygdala back here gets, the reptilian brain gets activated. And so the first thing, and then I'll tell you some stories after I have you breathe and calm down, is to do what I call a 3-6 breath. And this is something I taught my son. This is something I use with my clients. This is something I taught in my empowerment programs, is just breathe in for 3 and out for 6. And you let your shoulders drop, and you do that 3 times. Breathe in for 3 and out for 6. And one more time, breathe in for 3 and out for 6. Now think if you go into fear, or you are with your children, or in whatever situation you're in right now, and you just ask everybody, and you can own it. You say, I just need to take a moment to shift my attitude, and to say, would everybody just breathe in with me for 3 and out for 6. And I will tell you that will transform any environment, any situation, anywhere you are. So one of the stories that both Judy and Lynn were there for when I really had to shift my paradigm mid-air was in a training we were in to become life mastery consultants, and we were doing an ending ceremony, and we were going to go to the window that was a big picture window. This was in the presidential suite at the Marriott, and we were going to go to the window and do some kind of process. I don't remember because of what happened, but I was one of the last ones in, so everybody's facing the window except a few people, and there were about 4 steps down into the room. And I had earlier told a lie about myself. I said, I am not a speaker.
Oh.
I am going to build my business only by hiding behind the internet. And because I'm not a speaker. And I was in a group with Matt Boggs, who both Lynn and Judy know. And so something in me, as we went to do this ceremony, Matt put his hand out to take my hand to help me down the steps. And as soon as I looked at eye to eye to him, I missed the first step. I realized I had told a lie, and I missed the first step. And I went flying into the room, which with these steps made me about 8 foot above the ground. And I had to come down. This is gravity. This is another one of those immutable laws, right? And so I am flying midair. And the first thoughts out of my head is, oh no, I've hurt myself before. I don't want to hurt myself again. No, not this again. And I had to stop myself midair. And this is a split second. And I had to move to a place, I feel it kind of up here, kind of behind my forehead. And I just had to go, I am well. I am well. And I had to shift my thinking midair to know a truth. You know, all of the three of us teach out of the Wallace Wattles, come on, girls, throw it out there for me.
Getting rich.
Yeah, the science of getting rich. And he says in there, the most laborious work we have to do is to know truth regardless of appearance. And here I am midair. The only thing that I know in my past is that falling 8 feet to the ground means injury. And so I had to midair know truth. I am well. I am one with the divine. I know the truth of who I am. And I came down, splat, spread eagle. There were 2 doctors, 2 medical professionals in the room, one on each side of the room. And both of them were starting to head to me and starting to call 911 because this was, they thought, disaster, right? I laid there on the ground and I started to move and I felt pain in my body. And I moved to my thinking, I am well. I am well. And so I began to set up, and our mentor and teacher, Mary Morrissey, came down and got in my face. And she said, you told me you were going to get in the game, girl. And the shift for me was to know the truth of who I was, regardless of appearances, regardless of my fear, regardless of any of the thoughts that had been programmed inside of me.
So one of the things that I do know about you too is you're a master at creating things.
Mm-hmm.
And so even on my wall over here, your light switch, where, I mean, my granddaughter's like that too. She'll take whatever's there and she'll do a reminder with something concrete in your hands. Mm-hmm. And I think you color a lot, mm-hmm. or something. And like my light switch there says power up. So when I touch something, I remember that. So is there any kind of tool that that people could, yes, to remind them to get immediately back into that? It's one thing for me to say that, it's another to in the moment to remember.
Yes, because we think in images. So images is very powerful. This is where I'd like you to make me the host for a short amount of time, because I do have a visual image that I would like to show you, to share with you, everyone on the Facebook Live.
Okay.
Okay.
Change host, you're on. There you go.
Okay. So, like I said, we think in thoughts. And so this is an incredibly powerful tool right here to help you change your thinking. Now, this one I practiced over and over. I did it with my son, so I'll tell you a story about my son and how this worked with him. But I want you to think of 0 on this thermostat. Of course, now they're all digital, right? So those of you millennials and younger that don't know, this is an old-fashioned thermostat that you would turn up the heat with, right? And so you would turn the dial, right? And 0 is low frequency or low vibrational thoughts, and the 100% is high thinking, high vibrational thoughts. So what I have people do is think about when they have an erroneous thought or something that is not really serving them. I have them think about where on here. These are about 10 increments here. And where are they? So maybe they're right here about at 30 or 40%, right? And then I'm going to show you how this so how you turn this up. Now, you don't turn this up by wishing, that you were at a higher vibration. One of the things, and I usually ask people to go somewhere between 80 and, 100 is good to shoot for, but don't beat yourself up if you're not ready to move to 100. Let's go for 80. I don't even care if it's like 60. Get across that threshold right here. And so how you do that is to begin thinking thoughts that are at that frequency. And one of the easiest, best ways to do that is gratitude. So you start thinking about the things around you that you're grateful for. I am grateful for my son. I'm grateful for my husband. I am grateful that I have a home to live in. So all of those things that you are grateful for, turn up the frequency of your thoughts. I want you to think there first. Okay, and then at that frequency, so I'm grateful for my home, I'm grateful for my thoughts. Here's the problem. What can I think differently? How can I think differently to raise my frequency up to this? So here's a really visual thing to use. Now, here's the story, how it goes. So my son was raised in this, and he was he was 16 because he had just started driving our car. And as one of the privileges of driving our car was that he had to run errands for us, right? I mean, that's the rent for the car, right? So I asked him to go to the store for us, and he got in the car, and the next thing I know when he's in the car is I hear this crash. It wasn't a big crash, it was a little crash, and I just go, oh no. He comes running in the house. He is furious. He is furious. He is furious at the parked car in front of our house. Legally parked, right? But he was a little upset with us of having to go run another errand for my parents. So I asked him, I said, I got out the thermostat. So I have a toolkit. I have a whole toolkit, and I have sheets of these. So you can just do these anytime you need. And so I pulled one out and I said, honey, what's the vibration of your thinking right now? Right? And he goes, minus 20. I go, that's okay. We'll take that. Okay, so what can you move your thinking to? And he said, 40. So he wasn't going to go there. And he knows, that mom always says, try to go across that threshold and blah, 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 blah. And then I just said, okay, honey, what is a thought? And he knows he should be now working on how do I change my frequency thought. I think gratitude thoughts, or I think good thoughts, or my mom loves me, or whatever. And I say, so honey, what is a new thought at that frequency? And he looks around and he thinks for a minute, and then he looks at me for the answer. And I said, I don't have your answers. And all of a sudden he looks and he goes, I can learn from my mistakes. Boom, right there, frequency up here, right? Going in the right direction. So this is a very important visual effect, visual tool that you can use, that you can teach your kids, your students, your loved ones. It's like, let's just pause for a minute, and pause is another powerful tool, right? Let's just pause for a minute and let's be grateful for what we do have. Now, how can we solve the solution not at the level it was created? Remember, Einstein says you can't solve a problem at the level it was created. You have to move up to another level and come up with that frequency. Then with that frequency, ask yourself, what is something that I can think newly that is addressing this at a higher level? So does that help, Judy? Do you think that's a good one there?
Yes, I certainly do. And I do know too that the thermostat is something that every room has. Everything. And I'm constantly going and checking it. Mm-hmm. And it's great because it's a number. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A visual, it's a number, and I can remind myself where I would really love to adjust to. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that. And so what, Christi, you have so many creative ideas. What are you working on right now? I know you're always working on so many different things. And I know what you're working on right now.
Yes.
But
well, I'm going to start with a new development, and this has to do with shifting a paradigm of mind that you might not know in this context, but I have for years been searching exactly what is my masterpiece. Now, I have become a master coach, I've become master mom, I've become master, whatever, but it never all seemed, and master artist, it never all seemed to fit together. And finally, when this pandemic started, and this is something else I want to tell you.
Say pandemic?
Pandemic? How do you say it?
No, that's good. No, I love how you said that. The pandemic. Yeah.
Pandemic?
Whatever.
I love the pandemic. So the pandemic came on, and I went, this is a good one, how can I use this to be my best and to serve in my best way? I didn't go, oh my gosh, that stopped me. It's like, what if? There's a great question for you. What if this is part of our next evolution? What if this is all happening for our own good? I tell a story in the book that Judy's referring to that I have just sent off to the publisher, which I'll tell you about in a moment. I tell a story about saving a bug. And in saving that bug, I grabbed the water and I swished it up onto the shore, onto the bank of the swimming pool. That poor bug thought it was in turmoil, thought it was dying, thought the world was over, and yet it was being saved. And so however we need to think of these times, it's like, just think you are in the wave of life becoming better than it ever could have possibly been. And we don't need to know how, we just need to operate in that frequency. So what I discovered in all of this was that what I always missed about being an art therapist was I would have other people make art, and then I would make my own art. I have now combined the two finally, and I am doing intuitive wisdom drawings where I draw people's energy intuitively while I'm doing a coaching session. Then I show them the image and they find their own answers within that image. It inspires them. I don't have their answers. They have their answers, but this image, because I'm intuiting what's going on, helps them find their answers. So that's bringing that is my masterpiece now. And so I'm loving doing that for my clients. And the other thing that I'm doing that Judy's referring to, I've been meaning to write a book all these years. As soon as the pandemic started, I said, boom, this is the time to write my book. And I sat down and I set myself a schedule, and every day, I worked Tuesdays and Thursdays for 4 hours. I added more time, but at least that time I always asked me, what's the most productive thing I can do in the direction of my vision, of my dream? And now in 4 months, I turned my draft in. The book is called Beyond the Box. And what Beyond the Box is teaching creative thinking along with understanding and using universal principles, and that's creative thinking expanded. And that's what I teach through this book. And it's a vision-driven program like we all are involved in. It starts with designing your life, critiquing what's in the way, and creating that masterpiece that's within you out in the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'll put some more information down there. So first of all, I want to thank you for taking all this time with us.
Can I say one quick thing about a tool, which is vision? And I know Judy has told you, create a vision of what you would like for your life, your family, with your kids, and hold that vision. And use that also in your 90 percentile of your thermostat. I just didn't want to miss that because it's key in your work and it's key in my work. We need to imagine the best world possible.
Always, every day.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Christi. And for your life work, for everybody here, let's take a deep breath in here. Let's take a deep breath into September 1st, 2020. Yeah. And for this work for this coming week is, how can I use this to be my best? How can I use whatever's happening to bring out my best? And I love that question that you ask yourself. And what if, and asking that, and also write this question down, you guys. What if this is part of my evolution? And I know that's what we're doing with our shifting and our paradigm shifters, our old patterns, and what's the most productive thing that I can do today in the direction of my unfoldment. So thank you so much, Christi, for our first live September in September. And for those of you, put down where you're from, what your ahas are, okay? So what did you get that you will be taking into this week? Also, I would love to take this opportunity to not necessarily challenge you, but I'm going to say that word challenge you to, what is it that you can teach to another person about what you learned today? So maybe one little thing about taking those kids or whatever, you don't even have, take it in yourself. And the next time you go to your thermostat, the next time you see that, look at those numbers a little bit differently. Because it's your life, it's your thermostat, and you have a choice. So dream big, dream bold, accomplish brilliantly. Until next time, Judy Matejczyk, thank you, Christi Corrado, over and out. And
thank you, Judy. Thanks for having me here.
There, bam. Okay, now we're backstage. We're back here. Let's see who joined us. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Yeah. Carol, this is Christi and Lynn. And Carol's from California as well.
Oh, what part, Carol?
I live in Chowchilla, California.
Oh, where's that? That's south, isn't it?
It's just north of Fresno.
Oh, okay.
But I used to live in I used to live in Nevada.
Oh, I used to live in San Anselmo, so you know the area, yeah. But now we're in Santa Rosa, so yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
How are the fires out your way?
The fires are doing really good. One of them's 100% contained. The other one's 76. The air's been cool. There's been no wind. So it's just not been as bad as, fires in past. It is early. So that was kind of caught us all off guard. And, it's that on top of a pandemic. I will tell you, I hit my first wall actually over the weekend with all, just everything kind of being overwhelming. But then I breathed and then I used my tools.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest thing I took from today is the breathing, just to take a moment and do that breathing and get out of that space.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And if you're with other people, whether it's on Zoom or whatever, it also works in the collective. Yeah.
And Carol, this is Lynn up here with the purple cape on. I mean blue.
Hi, Lynn.
Lynn is here from Buffalo, New York.
Yep.
Oh,
We're all over the country.
nice to meet you, Lynn.
Our partners in believing are all over the country.
See, what we do is we have all points covered and we create a vortex that creates healing across the country.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. And I think what we're going to do is like what we always do. You're part of our partner in believing today, Carol. And
thank you.
Yes, always. And Lynn always prays us out. We begin with prayer and end with prayers. So Lynn, would you like to pray us out?
Sure. Sweet and loving Spirit, as we go forth this week, this month, the rest of this year, this decade, the beginning of this decade and beyond, let us remember all of the great tools that Christi provided with us. Let us remember to breathe and to notice our thoughts and shift our paradigms by shifting our thermostat. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
All
Thank
right,
you, Judy. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Nice meeting you guys.
Nice
Yeah,
meeting
nice
you
meeting you
also.
too.
Good to see you, Carol. Good to see you. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, next week is